The council chamber stood at the center of the galaxy's power. Its walls held the symbols of 300 species, each one representing a civilization that had earned its place among the stars. Today, those 300 species faced death. Counselor Vexath looked at the holographic display with his 4 eyes. The red marks showed where the Void Swarm had attacked. 12 star systems were gone, not conquered, not occupied. Gone. Eaten by something that consumed everything in its path. "We must mobilize every species," Vexath said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Total war. No exceptions." The other counselors made sounds of agreement. Some had tentacles that waved in distress. Others had wings that trembled with fear. They had all seen what the swarm did. They had all lost people. "The human representative is here," announced the chamber AI. The doors opened. Ambassador Park Ji-woo walked in. She was small compared to most species in the room. Humans always looked small. They had been in space for only 150 years. They were still newcomers. Ji-woo wore a simple blue suit. Her black hair was tied back. She carried no weapons, no guards, no display of power. She walked to the center of the chamber and bowed slightly. "Ambassador Park," Vexath began, "the Council has made its decision. Every species must send their complete military force to fight the Void Swarm. This is not a request. This is a requirement for continued membership in the Galactic Council." The chamber fell silent. This was the moment where species usually protested. They would ask for time. They would explain why their military was needed at home. They would try to negotiate. Ji-woo simply smiled. It was not a big smile. Her lips curved slightly upward, but something about it made Vexath uncomfortable. He had fought in 40 wars. He had seen species beg for mercy. He had seen species rage against fate. He had never seen a smile like this. "The Republic of Earth accepts these orders," Ji-woo said. Her voice was calm and clear. "We will mobilize our full military capability. We will deploy without restriction. We will engage the enemy with complete commitment." Counselor Thrain leaned forward. She was from a species that could read emotional patterns. "Ambassador, do you understand what we are asking? This is total war. Your entire military. Every ship. Every soldier." "Yes," Ji-woo said. The smile remained. "We understand perfectly." There will be casualties," Vexath added. He wanted to be clear. Humans were new to galactic war. Maybe they did not understand. "Thousands of your people will die. Maybe more. We understand the cost of war," Ji-woo replied. "Is there anything else?" The counselors looked at each other. This was too easy. Humans were supposed to be difficult. They asked questions about everything. They wanted to understand every detail. They never just agreed. "You have no questions?" asked Counselor Zeph. "No concerns about deployment zones? No requests for support?" "No," Ji-woo said. "You have given us clear orders. We will follow them. When do you need our forces at the front line?" 30 days, Vexath said. "Can humanity be ready in 30 days? "Yes." That smile again. Vexath felt his scales ripple with unease. Something was wrong here. He could not identify what. But his instincts screamed at him. "Very well," he said slowly. "The Council thanks Earth for its cooperation. You are dismissed." Ji-woo bowed again. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. Every counselor watched her go. When the doors closed, Thrain spoke first. "Did anyone else feel that?" "Feel what?" asked Zeph. That human was not afraid. Not even a little bit. Thrain's sensory tendrils curled with confusion. Every other species showed fear, anger, resignation. She showed nothing, just that smile. "Humans are young," said another counselor. "Perhaps they do not understand the danger," but Vexath was not convinced. He had studied humanity when they first joined the council. They were strange. They had reached space later than most species, but they had done it fast. Too fast, some said. Pull up the human military files, Vexath ordered. The AI displayed what the Council knew about Earth's military. It was not impressive. They had perhaps 200 warships. Their weapons technology was standard. Nothing special. They had fought no major wars since joining the Council. They should be terrified, Zeph said, looking at the data. Their military is tiny compared to the swarm. Vexath scrolled through the files. Something caught his eye. A note from the Intelligence Division. It was marked as low priority. Filed decades ago. Human military records before space travel are incomplete, he read aloud. Many files are classified or sealed. Reason given. Historical sensitivity. So why would a species hide its own military history? Vexath felt that unease growing. What did they do that they do not want others to know? Perhaps they lost wars and feel shame, Zeph suggested. Or perhaps they won wars in ways they are not proud of, Vexath said quietly. The chamber fell silent again. The counselors looked at the door where the human had left. That smile suddenly seemed less mysterious and more ominous. Should we reconsider? Asked Thrain. Vexath looked at the hologram of the void swarm. It was growing. Soon it would reach populated sectors. Billions would die. No, he said. We need every military force we have, even the humans. But he made a private note to watch what humanity did. Very carefully. In the corridor outside, Ji-Woo walked alone. The smile faded from her face. She activated her communication device. Admiral Kim, she said quietly. The Council has authorized unrestricted military action. There was a pause. Then a woman's voice replied. Understood. I will inform the President. Are you certain they meant unrestricted? Completely certain. They used those exact words. Another pause. Longer this time. Then we proceed with Protocol 7, Admiral Kim said. Her voice was heavy. May we be forgiven for what comes next. Ji-Woo closed the connection. She looked out the window at the stars. Beautiful. And peaceful. For 30 more days. Anyway. Then humanity would show the galaxy what unrestricted really meant. The galaxy mobilized for war. Every species sent their warships toward the front lines. The void swarm was approaching the Helios sector, where 17 inhabited planets waited. The Council's plan was simple. Meet the swarm with overwhelming force and destroy it before it could spread further. Counselor Vexath monitored the deployment from the command center. Holographic displays showed thousands of ships moving into position. The combined fleet was the largest in galactic history. Status report on human forces? He asked. The intelligence officer, a small creature named Krill, touched her data pad. That is unclear, Counselor. Unclear? Krill's antenna twitched nervously. Human military ships are not moving toward the front lines. Instead, they are moving toward the Helios sector planets. Vexath felt his scales rise. They are running away? Abandoning the fight? No, sir. They are evacuating civilians. The hologram changed to show human ships in orbit around endangered worlds. Massive transport vessels, larger than anything humans had shown before, were loading refugees from a dozen different species. How many ships? Vexath demanded. Over 300 transport vessels. Each one can carry 50,000 people. They are offering free passage to any civilian who wants to leave the danger zone. Vexath stared at the display. Where are their warships? Unknown, sir. Earth's orbital shipyards have gone dark. All external sensors are being blocked. We cannot see what they are doing. This was wrong. All of it was wrong. The Council had ordered humanity to send their military, not their rescue services. Get me Ambassador Park, Vexath ordered. 10 minutes later, Ji-Woo's face appeared on the communication screen. She was on a transport ship. Behind her, Vexath could see refugee families being processed by human medical staff. Ambassador, what is the meaning of this? The Council ordered you to deploy your military forces. We are deploying, Counselor, Jiwoo replied calmly. These operations are part of our military strategy. See, evacuating civilians is not fighting. No, Jiwoo agreed, but it is necessary. If we are going to fight without restrictions, we need to make sure innocent people are not in the combat zone. Vexath felt a chill run down his spine. Something about the way she said, "without restrictions," bothered him. When will your actual combat ships arrive? He asked. 23 days, Jiwoo said. We need time to prepare. The swarm will reach the Helios sector in 20 days. Then it is good we are evacuating civilians now. Jiwoo's expression did not change. Trust us, Counselor. We know what we are doing. The communication ended. Vexath stood in silence, staring at the screen. Sir, Krill said quietly, there is something else. What? Human industrial stations in deep space. They are producing supplies at maximum capacity. What kind of supplies? No, sir. Medical equipment, trauma counseling, AI systems, food rations, construction materials, even entertainment systems and children's toys. Vexath felt that unease again. They are preparing for refugees? It seems that way. They are also sending messages to all species, offering free mental health support for anyone affected by the swarm attacks. They are fighting a war with therapy and food. But Krill was looking at her datapad with a strange expression. Sir, there is one more thing. Human naval personnel are being recalled from leave with extreme urgency. Every single officer and crew member, even ones who were scheduled for retirement. How many? All of them. The recall order uses priority code Phoenix 7. I looked up what that means in human military protocol. Krill paused. It means extinction-level threat response. Vexath felt his blood go cold. Show me human ship movements again. The hologram displayed the evacuation operations. But now, Vexath looked more carefully. The human ships moved with perfect precision. The evacuations were happening with military efficiency. And the ships themselves, now that he looked closer, had unusual design features. Extra armor plating. Reinforced hull structures. These were not normal transport ships. These are warships, he said quietly, disguised as transports. What? Krill zoomed in on one of the vessels. But they have no weapons visible. Exactly. No weapons visible. Unknown, sir. These ships do not appear in any of our records. Across the galaxy, other species were noticing the same thing. Human activity did not make sense. On Council military channels, commanders complained. Where are the human warships? They sent us medical supplies instead of reinforcements. This is a disaster. Humanity is not taking this seriously. But Admiral Kim Seo-yeon sat in her office on Earth, listening to these complaints with a small smile. It was the same smile Jiwoo had given the Council. Her second-in-command, Captain Lee Min-ho, stood beside her. The evacuation is proceeding on schedule. We will have all non-combatants clear in 18 days. Good, Kim said. And the shipyards? The construction is complete. All ships are ready. The crews are boarding now. Kim nodded slowly. She looked at the picture on her wall. It was very old, from Earth's history. It showed a mushroom cloud rising over a city. Below it, words in several languages. The Korean text read, "Never again, unless we must." Captain Lee, do you understand what we are about to do? Lee's expression was serious. Yes, Admiral. We are going to show them what humanity keeps locked away. Are you afraid? Terrified, Lee admitted. But the Council gave the order. Unrestricted military action. They removed all the limitations we put on ourselves. Kim stood up. She walked to the window and looked at Earth below. Beautiful. Blue and green and alive. Our ancestors built weapons that could destroy worlds, she said quietly. Then they were so horrified by what they created that they buried those weapons and swore never to make them again. For 300 years, we kept that promise. And now? Lee asked. Now the galaxy has told us to stop keeping that promise. They have ordered us to use everything we have. So we will. Kim turned back to Lee. Send the message to all ships. Operation Prometheus begins in 20 days. Lee saluted and left. Kim stayed by the window. She thought about the Void Swarm. It had destroyed 12 star systems, killed trillions of beings. It needed to be stopped. But she also thought about what humanity would use to stop it. Weapons that had not been deployed in 3 centuries. Technology that they had hidden from the galaxy because it was too terrible to share. Forgive us, she whispered to Earth. We tried to be better. We really did try. In the council chamber, Vexath sat alone. He was reviewing human history files that Krill had finally managed to decrypt. Old records from before humanity reached space. What he read made his scales turn pale. He picked up his communicator with a shaking hand. Get me the council. Emergency session. Right now. What is the emergency, counselor? Vexath looked at the file on his screen. It showed Earth's last global war. The weapons they had used. The devastation they had caused. And most terrifying of all, the weapons they had chosen not to use because even they were too horrified by their own creations. I think we made a terrible mistake, he said. The emergency council session began in chaos. Counselors from 300 species were talking over each other, demanding answers. The Void Swarm was only 3 days from the Helios sector, and the human fleet still had not appeared. Vexath stood at the center of the chamber. He looked tired. He had not slept in 2 days, reading through human history files. Silence, he roared. The chamber fell quiet. I called this session because I have discovered something about humanity. Something they did not tell us when they joined the council. What could be so important? Demanded Counselor Zeph. The swarm approaches, and the humans are nowhere to be seen. Vexath activated the holographic display. It showed Earth, hundreds of years in the past. This is Earth during their last global war. They call it World War III. It lasted 7 years. 2 billion humans died. 1/4 of their species. The counselors made sounds of shock. 2 billion casualties was horrific even by galactic standards. But that is not the important part. Vexath continued. The hologram showed weapons. Missiles. Bombs. These are nuclear weapons. They split atoms to create explosions. One bomb can destroy an entire city. Humanity built 40,000 of these weapons. That is barbaric, breathed Counselor Thrain. Yes, Vexath agreed. But they did not use all of them. They stopped their war before they destroyed their entire planet. They were horrified by what they had created, so they made a choice. They buried these weapons. They sealed the technology. They promised each other to never build such things again. He changed the display to show Earth's space program. When humanity reached space, they showed us their conventional military. Normal ships, normal weapons. They followed all galactic laws about acceptable force. They seemed peaceful, helpful, kind. What is your point? Zeph asked. My point is that we never asked what they were before they became peaceful. We never asked what they were capable of when they chose not to hold back. Vexath looked around the chamber. We ordered them to unleash their full military capability without restrictions. We told a species that once built world-ending weapons to stop limiting themselves. The chamber went silent. Finally, Thrain spoke. Surely they would not. They buried those weapons centuries ago. Did they? Vexath pulled up recent intelligence reports. Human shipyards went dark 28 days ago. We cannot see what they built. Human military personnel were recalled using extinction-level threat protocols, and they evacuated every civilian from the combat zone before they would fight. Why evacuate civilians if they are just going to use conventional weapons? Asked another counselor slowly. Exactly, Vexath said. The chamber erupted in panic. Species began demanding that humans be ordered to stand down. Others wanted to send inspectors to Earth immediately. Some wanted humanity expelled from the council. Then the communication system activated. Admiral Kim Seo-yeon's face appeared on every screen. Counselors, she said calmly. This is Admiral Kim, of the Earth Defense Forces. I am sending you coordinates and a timestamp. You have 6 hours to clear all council ships from the marked sector. Admiral, where is your fleet? Vexath demanded. Arriving on schedule. But I need to be very clear about something. Kim's expression was serious. What you are about to witness is not something we wanted to show you. When we joined the council, we hoped we would never need to use these capabilities again. You ordered unrestricted military action, so we are giving you exactly that. What kind of weapons are you deploying? Thrain asked, her voice shaking. The kind we swore we would never use again. The kind we built when we were trying to destroy ourselves. The kind we have spent 300 years trying to forget. Kim paused. Get your ships clear of the sector. What comes next, you do not want to witness up close. The communication ended. The council chamber fell into terrified silence. Is she bluffing? I do not think humans bluff, Vexath said quietly. 6 hours later, the council fleet withdrew to a safe distance. Long-range sensors were pointed at the combat zone. The void swarm had entered the Helios sector. Its massive form consumed everything in its path. It was a living darkness that ate light itself. Then the human fleet arrived. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. But these were not the ships the council knew about. These vessels were enormous. Angular. Wrong. They looked like someone had designed them specifically to cause fear. Each ship was marked with a name. Not the names of heroes or planets, like other species used. These ships had concept names: necessary evil, proportional response, calculated mercy, last warning, and at the center of the fleet, the flagship. Its name made Vexath's blood run cold when the translation came through. Humanity tried asking nicely. What kind of species names their warships like that? Thrain whispered. The kind that knows exactly what they are, Vexath replied. Admiral Kim's voice came over the channel. Council fleet, maintain your distance. All human vessels, you are weapons free. Engage the enemy. What happened next would be studied by military historians for centuries. The human ships did not charge in. They did not fire conventional weapons. Instead, they deployed something the council had never seen before. What are those? A counselor asked, looking at the sensor readings. Kinetic bombardment systems, Krill said, her voice filled with awe. They are accelerating asteroids to near light speed and firing them like bullets. The relativistic projectiles hit the void swarm with the force of nuclear explosions. But that was just the beginning. Next came missiles that seemed to erase matter. Not destroy it. Erase it. The parts of the swarm hit by these weapons simply stopped existing across multiple realities. Quantum disruption weapons. Krill breathed. They are unmaking matter. At the probability level. That should not be possible, Zeph said. Humanity made it possible. Vexath replied. But the worst came last. The humans deployed what they called cascade weapons. These devices studied the void swarm's own consumption process and turned it into a feedback loop. The swarm began to devour itself, unable to stop its own nature from destroying it. In the Council Command Center, officers watched in horror as the void swarm, the unstoppable force that had consumed 12 star systems, began to collapse inward. It is eating itself, someone whispered. Captain Lee Min-ho's voice came calmly over the channel. Target fragmentation at 70%. Adjusting cascade frequency. Containing remnants for study. For study? Thrain said in disbelief. They are capturing it? On the view screen, the Void Swarm's death throes were visible. It writhed and twisted, consuming itself in an accelerating spiral. The humans maintained precise formation, adjusting their weapons to contain the collapse. 47 hours after the engagement began, it was over. The Void Swarm was gone. Completely destroyed. Not a single fragment escaped. Captain Lee's voice came over the channel one final time. Council Command. This is Captain Lee aboard Proportional Response. Threat neutralized. 0 friendly casualties. Swarm remnants contained in stasis for analysis. Permission to begin cleanup operations? In the council chamber, no one spoke. They had just watched humanity erase an extinction-level threat from existence in less than 2 days. Using weapons that should not exist. Wielded with terrifying precision. Vexath looked at the human fleet on the display. Those massive, angular ships hung in space like monuments to controlled violence. We did not win a war, he said quietly. We gave humanity permission to show us what they really are, what they keep locked away, what they are capable of when they stop being nice. Counselor Thrain was trembling. What have we done? We have learned, Vexath said. Why humanity smiles when given war orders. Because they know something we just discovered. They are not afraid of war. They are afraid of themselves during war. The Council observation fleet floated in silent space. Around them, the debris field that had once been the Void Swarm drifted in contained pockets. Human ships moved through the wreckage with methodical precision, cataloging every piece. Inside the Council command ship, officers from 20 different species watched the humans work. No one spoke. They had been silent for hours. Finally, a young officer from the Trill species broke the silence. How did they do it? Our best weapons barely slowed the swarm. They eliminated it in 2 days. Siam, they too. Krill, who had been studying the sensor data, looked up from her station. Her face was pale. Because they were not using military weapons. Not in the way we understand military weapons. What do you mean? Vexath asked. These weapons were not designed to fight other species. They were designed to end species, to crack planets, to sterilize solar systems. Krill's hands shook as she showed the data. That kinetic bombardment system? One projectile has enough energy to shatter a moon. They fired 600 of them. They fired 1. The officers stared at the numbers. The quantum disruption missiles do not just destroy matter. They remove it from existence across probability states. The Cascade weapons. Krill stopped. The Cascade weapons are designed to exploit reproduction and consumption patterns. Any species that reproduces or consumes resources can be turned against itself. Any species? Vexath felt sick. Including us? Including everyone, Krill said quietly. These are extinction weapons. Humanity built weapons specifically designed to end civilizations. The communication system activated. Captain Lee Min-ho appeared on screen. He looked tired, but calm. Council Command, we are ready to provide our after-action report. Captain Lee. Vexath said slowly. What? We witnessed. Those weapons. Why did humanity build such things? Lee was quiet for a moment. Because we were trying to destroy ourselves, Counselor. During our last global war, we built weapons that could end all life on Earth. We were very good at it. Too good. But you stopped. You did not destroy yourselves. No. We stopped because we finally understood what we were doing. We looked at those weapons and realized we had become monsters. Lee's expression was sad. So we buried everything. We promised to never build such weapons again. We thought we could be better. Then why bring them back? Asked Counselor Thrain, who had been listening. Why build these ships? These terrible weapons? Because the Void Swarm required them, Lee replied simply. You ordered unrestricted military action. You removed all limitations. So, we stopped limiting ourselves. On the main view screen, the human fleet began moving into new positions. Their formation was defensive, protecting the Council ships. But to the Council officers, those protective ships looked like predators circling prey. Admiral Kim Se-yoyon's face appeared next to Captain Lee's on the communication screen. Counselors, I need to be very clear about what happened here. We did not win a battle. We executed a extinction protocol. The Void Swarm is not defeated. It is erased. Nothing remains except samples we are keeping in quantum stasis. How is that different from a normal victory? Asked a counselor. Because a normal victory leaves something behind. Survivors, remnants, a history. We did not give the swarm any of those things. We removed it from existence so completely that in a few years, people will question if it was ever real. The counselors looked at each other in horror. That is what humanity does, Kim continued. When you give us permission to stop holding back, we do not just win wars. We end them so completely that people forget why they started. Vexath thought about the human smile. Ambassador Park's calm acceptance of war orders. He finally understood it. You were not happy to receive our orders, he said. Kim nodded slowly. Yes, Counselor. We were disappointed that the galaxy did not trust us enough to find another way. We are disappointed that you looked at the Void Swarm and thought the only solution was unrestricted violence. Because we know what unrestricted violence looks like. We have been there. We have done it. But the swarm needed to be stopped. Zeph protested. It would have killed billions. Yes, Kim agreed. It needed to be stopped. But there is a difference between stopping something and erasing it. You ordered erasure. So we gave you erasure. On the sensor displays, human ships were deploying something new. Massive construction equipment began assembling stations around the former combat zone. What are they building now? Krill asked. Warning beacons, Captain Lee answered. Monuments. Records. We are marking this space as a graveyard, so the Void Swarm's extinction is remembered, so people do not forget what happened here. Why? Asked Vexath. Why honor something you destroyed? Because forgetting is how you make the same mistakes again, Lee said. We destroyed the swarm because you ordered us to. But we will remember it. We will study it. We will understand why it existed. Because that is the difference between victory and wisdom. Admiral Kim pulled up a new display. It showed the evacuated civilians that human ships had rescued. Millions of people, from dozens of species. We saved 3.7 million non-combatants from the war zone. They are currently in human stations receiving medical care, counseling, and temporary housing. We will return them to their homes when the area is safe. Why? Thrain asked. Why save them if you could destroy the swarm so easily? Because that is why we fight, Kim said simply. Not for territory. Not for glory. Not even for survival. We fight to protect people who cannot protect themselves. We evacuated civilians first, because we needed to remember what we were fighting for. Otherwise, we would become the thing we were fighting against. The human admiral stood up. Behind her, through the window of her ship, Earth was visible, small and blue and fragile. Humanity learned something during our worst war. We learned that the easiest thing in the universe is destruction. Any fool can destroy. It takes no skill to tear things down. But building, protecting, creating safety? That is hard. That requires strength. Kim looked directly at the council members. So yes, we destroyed the Void Swarm. We erased it from existence. We used weapons that should never exist. And we did it in 47 hours because you ordered us to stop holding back. She paused. Are you happy with what you saw? The council chamber was silent. Because this is what happens when you order humanity to war without restrictions. This is what we are capable of when we remove our own limitations. This is what we keep locked away because we know how dangerous it is. Vexath felt the weight of her words. The council had thought humanity was weak because they asked so many questions, because they wanted to understand before acting, because they preferred peace. They had never considered that humanity preferred peace not from weakness, but from knowledge. Knowledge of what they could do, what they had done, what they might become again if they stopped being careful. Admiral, Vexath said quietly. What happens now? Kim smiled. It was tired and sad. Now we put the monster back in its cage. We dismantle these weapons. We convert these ships back to exploration vessels. We return our soldiers to civilian life. We go back to being the helpful, friendly humans who ask too many questions. Just like that, just like that. Because that is what humans do after the monster is dead. We lock our own monsters away again. We choose to be better than our capabilities. We choose peace not because we cannot make war, but because we know exactly how terrible we are at war. Captain Lee added, the only thing more frightening than a species that can build extinction weapons is a species that can build them and then choose not to use them until someone insists they are needed. The communication ended. The council officers sat in the dark command center, watching human ships work. They had won the war. The void swarm was gone. The galaxy was safe, but no one felt like celebrating, because they had learned what humanity really was. Not the friendly newcomers, not the helpful diplomats, not the species that asked too many questions. They were the species that knew how to end worlds and chose not to, until asked. The emergency council session began 3 days after the void swarm's destruction. Every species sent their highest representatives. The chamber was full for the first time in decades. Everyone wanted to speak about humanity. Vexath stood at the center, looking older than he had before the war. The past week had changed him, changed all of them. The council must address the human question, began Councillor Zeph. His voice was sharp with fear. They possess weapons that could destroy us all. We cannot allow this to continue. Voices rose in agreement. Species demanded restrictions. Inspections. Some called for humanity to be expelled from the council entirely. They are too dangerous. What if they turn those weapons on us? We must limit their military immediately. Councillor Thrain raised a tentacle for silence. Before we make any decisions, Ambassador Park has requested to address the council. I think we should hear what humanity has to say. Why? The chamber doors opened. Ambassador Park Ji-woo walked in, alone as always. She wore the same simple blue suit. Her expression was calm. But this time, no one mistook that calm for weakness. She walked to the center of the chamber and looked around at the 300 species watching her. Counselors, she began. I understand your fear. You have seen what humanity is capable of when we remove our restraints. You watched us deploy weapons that should not exist. You saw us erase the void swarm from reality in less than 2 days. The chamber was silent. Every eye was on the human. You are afraid that we might use those weapons on you. That we might decide the galaxy would be better under human control. That we might become conquerors. Ji-woo paused. That fear is reasonable. Because you finally understand what we have known for 300 years. Humanity is very good at destruction. We are very good at building weapons. We are very good at war. Zeph stood up. Then you admit you are a threat. No, Ji-woo said calmly. I admit we could be a threat. Just like any species with advanced technology could be a threat. The question is not whether we have the capability to harm you. The question is whether we choose to. She activated a holographic display. It showed the human fleet, the massive warships that had destroyed the void swarm. These ships are being dismantled as we speak. The extinction weapons are being broken down into base components. The crews are returning to civilian life. Within 60 days, this fleet will no longer exist. You are destroying your own military? Thrain asked in surprise. We are destroying weapons we should never have built again, Ji-woo corrected. We kept our promise for 300 years. We did not want to break it. But you gave us an order. Unrestricted military action. Complete commitment. No limits. She changed the display to show Earth's military history. The mushroom clouds. The devastation. The 2 billion dead. We know what unrestricted warfare means. We have done it before. We destroyed ourselves once, and we survived only because we stopped just in time. We looked at what we had become, and we were horrified. Jiwoo's voice was steady but sad. So we made a promise. We buried those weapons. We sealed that technology. We told ourselves never again. When we reached space and met you, we thought we could leave that history behind. We thought we could be better. But you brought it back, Zeph said accusingly. Because you ordered us to. Jiwoo's voice rose for the first time. You looked at the void swarm, and you demanded unrestricted action. You removed every limitation we had placed on ourselves. You gave us permission to be the monsters we used to be. The chamber fell silent. Do you know why I smiled when you gave us that order? Jiwoo asked. Because I was disappointed. Disappointed that the galaxy had learned nothing from 3 centuries of peace. Disappointed that when faced with a crisis, your first response was maximum violence. Disappointed that you thought the only way to solve the problem was to unleash humanity's worst nature. She looked around the chamber at all the species watching her. We did what you asked. We destroyed the void swarm completely. We showed you what humanity is capable of when we stop holding back. And now you are terrified of us. Good. You should be. Because now you understand why we ask so many questions. Why we prefer peace. Why we built so many safety measures into everything we do. Vexath stood up slowly. Ambassador, what are you saying? I am saying that humanity chose peace not because we are weak. We chose peace because we know exactly how strong we are. We chose restraint not because we lack capability, but because we understand the responsibility that comes with capability. Jiwoo changed the display again. This time it showed the 3.7 million refugees that humanity had evacuated. Species from 20 different worlds, now safe in human stations. We evacuated these people first, before we fought, before we deployed weapons, because we needed to remember why we fight. Not for conquest, not for glory, not even for survival. We fight to protect people who cannot protect themselves. She looked at the council members. You want to restrict humanity now. To limit our military. To inspect our technology. To make sure we cannot threaten you. Jiwoo's expression was understanding. We will allow all of that. We will open our facilities to inspection. We will accept restrictions. We will prove that we are not a threat. Why? Asked Councillor Thrain. You have the power to refuse. We cannot force you. Because we do not want to be feared. Jiwoo said simply. We want to be trusted. And trust must be earned. Especially after we have shown you our worst. Admiral Kim Seo-yeon appeared on the communication screen behind Jiwoo. The dismantling of the war fleet is 60% complete, Kim reported. All extinction weapons have been destroyed. Personnel are being debriefed and returned to their previous assignments. Earth's military will return to its pre-war size within 30 days. You are serious, Vexath breathed. You are actually dismantling everything. Yes, Kim said. Because we do not need those weapons anymore. The threat is gone. So the weapons designed for that threat are no longer necessary. But what if another threat appears? Zeph demanded. What if something worse than the Void Swarm attacks? Kim and Jiwoo exchanged a look. Then Jiwoo spoke. Then you will face the same choice you faced this time. You can work with all species to find a solution. You can use strategy and cooperation. You can exhaust every option. She paused. Or you can order humanity to war without restrictions. And we will do what you ask. Again. The weight of those words settled over the chamber. But understand this, Jiwoo continued. Every time you make that choice, you are choosing what kind of galaxy you want to live in. One where problems are solved through cooperation and wisdom, or one where problems are solved by unleashing monsters and hoping they only eat your enemies. If 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, Thrain spoke quietly. You are giving us the responsibility. Yes, Jiwoo agreed. Because it should be your responsibility, not ours. We have lived with the knowledge of what we can do. Now you share that knowledge. Now you understand why we prefer peace. Why we ask so many questions. Why we want to exhaust every option before choosing violence. Captain Lee Min-ho appeared on another screen. Final report from the combat zone. All swarm remnants have been catalogued and secured. Construction of memorial stations is complete. The area is marked as a protected memorial site. Any species may visit to study what happened here. A memorial? Asked a counselor. For the swarm? For everyone involved, Lee said. For the swarm that was destroyed. For the choice we made to destroy it. For the reminder that extinction is permanent. So future generations will remember what happened when the galaxy chose unrestricted violence. Vexath looked at the humans on the screens. These strange beings who built extinction weapons and then dismantled them. Who could erase species from existence and then built memorials to remember what they had done. What do you want from us, Ambassador? He asked. Jiwoo smiled. Not the smile that had made him uncomfortable. This was a genuine smile. Tired, but hopeful. We want you to remember this. Remember that humanity chose peace 300 years ago because we understood the cost of war. Remember that when we showed you our worst, we also showed you our best. We protected your civilians. We contained the threat without collateral damage. We destroyed the enemy, and then we destroyed the weapons we used. She looked around the chamber. We want you to remember that the galaxy has a choice. You can fear humanity for what we can do, or you can trust us for what we choose to do. Both are reasonable, based on what you have seen, but only one will build a better future. The council session continued for hours after that. Species debated and argued. Some wanted restrictions on humanity. Others wanted to express gratitude. A few wanted nothing to do with humans ever again. In the end, the council passed a resolution. Humanity would be subject to regular military inspections. Their weapons technology would be monitored, but they would also be officially recognized as protectors of the galaxy. The species that could be trusted with terrible power because they understood how terrible it was. Ambassador Park accepted the resolution with another smile. Then she returned to Earth. Admiral Kim stood on the observation deck of her flagship, watching as the last of the war fleet was dismantled. The massive ships were being broken down into components. The weapons systems were destroyed. Soon, there would be no evidence they had ever existed. Captain Lee joined her. It is done, Admiral. The fleet is gone. Kim nodded slowly. Good. We should never have built it in the first place, but we needed it to stop the swarm. Yes. And that is the tragedy. Kim looked out at Earth. We needed to become monsters to fight a monster. But at least we had the choice to stop being monsters afterward. Do you think the council will remember? Lee asked. The lesson? Kim was quiet for a moment. Some will. Others will forget and make the same mistakes again. That is the nature of civilization. Each generation must learn the same lessons. And if they order us to war again, then we will face the same choice again. And we will ask ourselves the same question. What kind of species do we want to be? 8. Lee looked at the dismantled fleet. I hope we never have to answer that question again. So do I, Kim said softly. So do I. On Earth, in a classroom, a young student raised her hand. Her name was Park Min-ji, and she was studying history. Teacher. Why did humanity build such terrible weapons? The teacher, an old veteran, smiled sadly. Because we were afraid and did not know better. And why did we dismantle them? Because we learned fear. The right kind of fear. The student thought about this. Will we ever build weapons like that again? Main shoe. MP. In get it. The teacher looked out the window at the peaceful sky. I hope not, Minji. I really hope not. But if we do, I hope we remember why we buried them in the first place. Not because we could not use them, but because we chose not to. The lesson ended. The students went home, and humanity continued its journey through the stars, carrying the knowledge of what they were capable of and the wisdom to choose differently. That was the real victory. Not the destruction of the void swarm, but the choice to put the monster back in its cage. The choice to be better than their capabilities. The choice to smile and mean it.